Good morning, all of you. Welcome to the physics class. Today is Thursday, 10th of September 2020, Thursday. We will be doing physics today first. In physics, so far we have covered almost some first portion, more than half of the portion from this chapter, that is electricity and magnetism. We had also solved in the last class some of the numericals using the formula of Ohm's law and other relation like resistance, potential difference, etc. In today's class, we are going to discuss another topic from this chapter. You have got three topics today. The first one is electromotive force, which can be also termed as EMF. Okay, then you have second one is the terminal voltage, which is given by V. Then the third one is the voltage drop in the cell. Voltage drop in a cell. Now if you look at these three topics there, these are all related to the current that is drawn from a source. Now what is the source here? So we will take the source to be a cell. All of you know that cell or a group of cell makes a battery. So first of all, let me briefly explain to you a cell. Now what is a cell? You have studied about this in your previous class, and you have also studied in other science segment, especially in the chemistry. Alright, so see here, a cell, you have one vessel there, okay, and in the vessel you have got two conductors that is immersed here. So I am just telling you briefly what the cell is, because all the three topics are related to this. So you have these conductors. These conductors are also termed as the terminals, or it is also called as the electrodes. Now inside the vessel you put some liquid or chemical mixture, which we termed it as electrolyte. So this now constitutes a cell. So some of the terms that are used here in a cell, these two are called the electrodes. Okay, it is also known as the terminals. And the liquid, whatever is inside this vessel, is known as the electrolytes. We will not go into detail of what happens here, the chemical reaction, all that you can deal it in the chemistry. Now basically what we are trying to understand here is the three terms, that is EMF, the terminal voltage, and the voltage drop. Now basically what is the function of the cell? To draw out the current. It gives out the current. So now how the current is given? Suppose look at this electrolyte. Usually the electrolyte is taken as dilute sulfuric acid, H2SO4. Now when these electrolytes are put inside, there will be a chemical mixture or chemical reaction takes place, and there will be a diffusion into two ions, the positive ion and the negative ion. The negative ion will be these two electrodes are usually made up of some metals, the copper, or usually it is taken as a zinc. So the dilute sulfuric acid, it will be dissociated into two ions, the positive ions and the negative ions. The negative ions will be converted and it will move towards this electrode zinc, and which will be known as the negative terminal. It will be known as the negative terminal, or we also termed it as the cathode. So it is full of negative. That means it has got excess of electrons. And if you look at the other what you call electrodes, the positive ions will move towards that and it will become the positive terminal. So this will be the positive terminal, and this is known as the anode. Alright, so basically this is the basic picture of what happens in a cell. So we have got two electrodes here. One is the negative terminals where you have got the excess of electrons, and another is the and this one is the positive terminal which has got the deficient or less of electrons. Now what happens is that in a cell, these two conductors or these electrodes, they maintain a difference of potential. That means there will be a difference of electrons in this. They will maintain a difference of the potential, and due to the chemical reaction there will be a continuous flow of electrons or the charge from one electrode to another. So when there is a continuous flow of charge or the electrons, that means there is a potential difference maintained here. And as long as the potential difference is there, then the current will be drawn out from the cell. So that current will be used for the various purposes. Alright, so that is the basic idea of a cell. And what is the main purpose of a cell? To draw the current. And how the current is drawn? By maintaining a difference of the potential in these two electrodes or in these two whatever conductors. Now from here we come to the three terms. The first term, let us discuss this briefly, that is EMF. I have told you the full form of EMF is electromotive force. Now basically what is this EMF or the electromotive force? It is when the current is not drawn from the cell. That means when this cell is in the open circuit, when there is open circuit, that means no current is drawn from the cell. In that case, the potential difference between the terminals of the cell is known as the EMF. So electromotive force is defined as the potential difference. It is defined as the potential difference across or between the terminals of the cell when no current is drawn from the cell. That means when the cell is in open circuit. Open circuit means disconnected. No electrons, that means current is coming out from the cell. That means electrons are not moving here, but there is a difference of the potential. So that potential difference between the terminals of the cell is called the electromotive force. But one condition is there, and what is that condition? No current is drawn from the cell or when the cell is in open circuit. Alright, so that is the what actually EMF is. Now how will you define the EMF? There has to be a definition of the EMF. So write down the definition of the EMF. It is there in the textbook also. You can refer to it from the textbook, page number 188 and 189. EMF is defined as the work done. EMF is defined as the work done per unit charge in carrying a positive charge, across the terminals of the cell. Across the terminals of the cell. Now what do you mean by the word across the complete terminal of the cell? So the potential EMF is defined as work done per unit charge. Work done per unit charge in carrying a positive test charge across the complete circuit of the cell. That means it is outside the cell as well as inside the electrolyte of the cell, because this is the electrolyte, the liquid. So cell is basically, it can be the inside can be taken as the liquid which is there in the form of the electrolyte, and the outside can be taken as the terminals in the form of the electrodes. So when the work is done in carrying the charge across the complete circuit of the cell, so that is the key point here, across the complete circuit of a cell. So whatever work is done, so that EMF is written like this. So we have now your definition of the EMF, or we can also write down the formula of the EMF. EMF is work done divided by the positive test charge. So EMF is given by the symbol which looks something like this, or which can be written as epsilon, EPSILON, epsilon. The name for this is, and the work done across the complete circuit of the cell is given by W, and you are moving the charge. Suppose if I take the charge to be small q. So this will be the first term, or the first definition, that is your EMF, electromotive force. So what is this EMF? It is basically the potential difference. So therefore its unit will be also same as the unit for the potential difference, which will be volt. So therefore we can write down the SI unit of EMF is volt. V stands for the volt, the unit. So we have understood now. So let us see that this EMF, what are the factors on which this EMF of a cell depends. So write down the next point is factors on which the EMF of a cell depends. Okay, now, so we can also make like this. This is the positive terminal and this is the negative terminal. Now between this there is EMF which is moving across the entire or the complete circuit. Okay, now factors on which the EMF of a cell depends. There are now basically two factors. The first factor is it depends upon the material of the electrodes. What type of electrodes you use, what type of the conductors you use. In this case, when we have taken this to be the copper and zinc, you can also use some other materials. Depending upon the type of the material you use, that will also be one of the factors. Okay, so it depends upon the material of the electrodes. And second one, it depends upon the electrolyte used in the cell. Which type of electrolyte or which type of liquid you use in the cell. These are the two main factors on which the EMF of a cell depends. Now EMF of a cell is independent of other factors. It does not depend on the shape of the electrodes. It is independent of the shape of the electrodes. What type of electrodes you use, it is independent. Second one is the distance between the electrodes, also it is independent for the EMF, because EMF is for the complete cell. So whatever is the distance between them, it is independent. And third is how much of the electrolyte is used in the cell. That means the amount of electrolyte used in the cell. So these are the factors on which the EMF of a cell do not depend. And the factors on which the EMF of a cell depends are the materials of the electrolytes and the type of the electrolytes used. Okay, so this is all about the EMF. I hope you have got some idea. If you have not understood, please go through that textbook. The key point here in the EMF is it is the potential difference. EMF is nothing but it is the potential difference, but in the complete circuit of a cell. That means it is outside the cell, which is in the terminals, or inside the cell, which is in the electrolyte. So the complete total potential difference of a cell is known as the EMF. Alright, now we come to the second point, that is the terminal voltage. This will be used again, so I will not draw this diagram. Terminal voltage. Now this terminal voltage will be slightly different from EMF. In case of the EMF, the first condition was when the current was not drawn, there was no current coming out from the cell. In that case, we found the potential difference. Whereas in case of the terminal voltage, the first and the foremost point that you have to keep in mind is when the current is drawn from the circuit. That means when the circuit is closed circuit or current is drawn. So when the current is now coming out from the cell, whatever the potential difference you have across the terminals, only across the terminals of the cell, that potential difference is called the potential, what we call terminal voltage. So how do we define this terminal voltage? When the cell is in the closed circuit or when the current is coming out from the cell, the potential difference between the electrodes or the terminals of the cell is known as the terminal voltage. No need to write down the definition. You can go through that in the textbook and try to understand. Keep in mind that the current is drawn. When the current is drawn, whatever is the potential difference across the terminals, that means only in the external, outside, it is not talking of inside. So only the potential difference in the external circuit of the cell, that potential difference is known as the terminal voltage. So the terminal voltage is again defined as, it is defined as the work done per unit charge in carrying the positive test charge through the external circuit or outside the cell. Through the external circuit or outside the cell is called the terminal voltage. So the terminal voltage is, we can write down W dash by Q. Why this W dash? Because it is saying that it is the work done per unit charge in carrying the test charge around the external circuit of the cell, only in the external circuit of the cell, or it is around the electrode, so only in this region. Whatever is work done, that work done per unit charge is defined as the terminal voltage. Now since this terminal voltage is also the potential difference, therefore the unit of this terminal voltage is also same as volt. So here in the terminal voltage, just keep in mind that 2 points you have to keep in mind. The first one is when the current is drawn from the cell, that means closed circuit, and the second is only in the external circuit of the cell. Okay, that means only in the external circuit of the cell, whatever is the potential difference. Now we come to the third part of this, that means when you go inside the cell in the electrolyte. That is called the voltage drop in the cell. Voltage drop in a cell. Now what happens to the voltage drop? That means obviously when you take the first one, that is EMF, and when you take the second one, that is the terminal voltage, obviously EMF is more than the terminal voltage, because EMF is for the entire complete cell, whereas the terminal voltage is only for the external circuit or external circuit, yes. Therefore EMF is more. Now why EMF is more? Because there is the electrolyte present inside, and this electrolyte also has some potential difference. Due to that potential difference, the terminal voltage becomes less than the EMF. So that potential difference due to this electrolyte inside the cell is called the voltage drop in a cell. So how do you define the voltage drop in a cell? Voltage drop in a cell is defined as the work done per unit charge in carrying the positive test charge through the electrolyte. That means inside the cell. So voltage drop is inside the cell, or you can also write down through the electrolyte. Okay, so voltage drop is given as same formula, work done, but work done we take it as small w, and the charge will be same, that is q. So voltage drop is also given by symbol small v, small w by q. So what do we get here is this work done, small w, is only the work done in carrying the test charge inside the cell. That means only through the electrolyte the work is done in carrying the unit positive test charge. So basically this voltage drop also has the same unit as the unit of the potential difference. So now I'll just combine these three. It will be quite simple for you. In the diagram, these three formulas, I'll write it down quickly so that it is easy for you to understand. The number one is EMF, which is given by the symbol W by Q. Number two is the terminal voltage, which is given by V, W dash by Q, and number three is the voltage drop. The voltage drop is given by a small v, which is small w by q. So in a very simple term, this is the cell, the total cell here, alright? This is your positive terminal, this is your negative terminal. EMF is for the complete cell, that is inside the cell as well as outside across the terminals. A terminal voltage is only in the outside, that means in the external circuit of the cell or across the terminals, across these electrodes, that is the terminal voltage. Whereas the voltage drop is only inside the cell, that means through this electrolyte. Alright, so from here what do we observe is that W, this is the work done for the entire cell, that means the complete cell. Work done for the outside external circuit plus work done for inside, that means through the electrolyte. So this is your total work done, will be work done across the terminals plus work done through the electrolyte. Simple, complete work done is work done outside plus work done inside. So now if I divide this with both the side with the charge, the positive charge, so what do you get from here? This we know is EMF. This we know, we have just learned, that is the terminal voltage, and this is the voltage drop. So this is the equation or the relation we get. Alright, this is the relation we have between the EMF, the terminal voltage, and the voltage drop. Now what you have to do is you have to go through your textbook. One assignment is there, a very simple assignment. Now you have one in the textbook in page number 189. There is a box which gives you the difference between the EMF and the terminal voltage. Only the EMF and the terminal voltage. EMF is for the complete cell and the terminal voltage is only for the external circuit. So please find out any three differences, write down those in your exercise book. Now in the next class I will be discussing about the internal resistance of a cell. Okay, internal resistance of cell, which is taking place through the electrolyte. In this electrolyte, what do you have? You have the voltage drop, small v. Okay, so here the resistance, that resistance which is offered to the flow of the current by this electrolyte, that resistance is called the internal resistance of a cell. Okay, let me complete that quickly now only. So the next topic I'll be discussing before I wind up of today's class. So write down the last topic for the day, that is internal resistance of a cell. Internal resistance of a cell. So when you talk of the internal, you talk of this electrolyte that is there inside the vessel of a cell. So what is this internal resistance? All of you know that the resistance is the obstruction offered to the flow of the current in a conductor. So here also you have the similar definition. The definition is like this: the resistance offered by the electrolyte inside the cell to the flow of current is called the internal resistance of the cell. So what is it? It is the resistance offered by the electrolyte inside the cell, offered to what? To the flow of current, because there is a current flowing. To the flow of current is called the internal resistance of the cell. The internal resistance of the cell is given by small r. Internal resistance is given by small r. Now if you limit your focus to this inside the cell, what type of the potential difference is there through this electrolyte? Small v, that is voltage drop from the Ohm's law, and the current, the same current is flowing, that is capital I. The current is flowing from the cell, or it is drawing out from the cell. And what is the resistance there? Small r. So this is the relation for the internal resistance. You have the voltage drop, the potential difference through the electrolyte, and the resistance offered by the electrolyte. I hope you have understood this topic so far. In the next class, that is day after tomorrow, I will be discussing some more topic, and there will be some simple numericals on that. Till then, keep studying and have a nice day.